My name is Mason. I'm a investment analyst in venture capital and innovation, and a board member at Invent Future Global. It's great to meet you. Archer, I'll let you introduce yourself, and then presenter, feel free to introduce yourself and get started with the presentation.
Thank you, Arya. Good to see you and have you here. Welcome. I am Arturo Mendez. I'm an educator at Tecnológico de Monterrey in Mexico. Welcome, and the stage is yours.
Thank you. My name is Arya, and this is my presentation on my debut novel, The Defiance. So I'm just gonna share my screen real quick. Are you able to see it?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so imagine witnessing something so overwhelming that your brain rewrites the way you see the world. Not metaphorically, but biologically. So your heart maybe starts racing faster at nothing. Your memories stop feeling like memories and they start feeling like relived moments. And your own mind becomes unpredictable. This isn't weakness, this is neuroscience. Hi, my name is Arya, and today I'm going to tell you a story, not just about my novel, The Defiance, but from the brain itself. A story about stress, trauma, and something even more powerful, how experience doesn't just shape who we are, it rewrites us as the level of our genes. So imagine walking into a room and your brain has already decided that you're not safe. Not because anything is happening, but because something once happened. Your body reacts when before your mind can reason. Your heart races, your attention narrows, your thoughts fragment, and here's the most important part. You don't choose this. Your brain does. And that gap between what you feel and what's actually happening is where trauma lives. And that gap is where neuroscience begins to explain everything. But we often think of science and storytelling as opposites. One is data, the other is emotion, but the brain doesn't work that way. The brain learns from stories. So I asked a question: what if fiction could become a tool to teach neuroscience? The Defiance was built on that idea to make complex concepts like trauma, memory, and cognition not just understandable, but felt. Because when you feel something, your brain encodes it differently. Stronger, deeper, longer lasting, and most importantly, it helps us shift from asking what's wrong with someone, to what happened inside their brain. In The Defiance, the protagonist witnesses a traumatic event. And what follows isn't just emotional, it's neurological. She experiences hyperarousal. Her brain is constantly scanning for danger. She experienced flashbacks, so where memories don't stay in the past but now intrude her present. And sleep disruption, because the brain can't properly consolidate memory, and lastly, impulsive decisions, because the systems that regulate behavior are overwhelmed. This isn't fiction exaggerating reality, but it's the brain doing exactly what it was designed to do, to survive. So, when we're reframing PTSD, we need to change one sentence. Instead of asking, what's wrong with you, we need to ask, what's happened to your brain? Because trauma isn't just psychological, it's biological. It changes your stress chemistry, it disrupts how memories are stored, and most importantly, it reshapes the brain through neuroplasticity. So, what actually changes in the brain? We often talk about neurons firing, circuits rewiring. It reaches the level of gene expression. So, and this is what fascinates me when I was writing the Defiance, because it means your experiences, your environment, your stress, your memories can all literally influence how your biology behaves. Not by changing how your DNA sequence is written, but by changing how it's read. It's like your genome, like a piano. The keys don't change, but the song being played that can change completely depending on experience. Trauma doesn't rewrite the piano; it changes the music. So, to understand epigenetics and trauma, we need to understand four systems that are working together: the stress response, your body's alarm system; memory consolidation, so how experience becomes lasting memories; the amygdala and the hippocampus, emotion and context; and the prefrontal cortex, your control center. Under trauma, this system becomes unbalanced. the emotional brain becomes louder and the logical brain becomes much more quieter. And the memory system, it becomes fragmented. So now imagine this imbalance happening not just once, but repeatedly. That's when the brain doesn't just react, it adapts. And that adaptation is written into your biology. Epigenetics is the study of how experience changes gene expression without changing DNA itself. Think of your DNA like a script. Epigenetics decides which lines are read and which are silenced. Let's go one layer deeper. When someone experiences chronic stress, the HPA axis, the brain's stress system, is repeatedly activated. This floods the body with a hormone called cortisol. Now, cortisol isn't bad, it's adaptive, it helps us survive. But when it comes to constant, the brain starts adjusting on a molecular level. Specific genes involved in regulating stress begin to change their expression through processes like methylation. Begin the genes become less active. And what does that mean in real life? It means a system that's supposed to turn off stress becomes less effective. So the brain stays in this heightened state, alert, reactive, ready, even when there's no danger. This is hypervigilance. It's not overreacting. It's basically the brain that has been biologically trained to survive. And this is where it gets even more powerful. Some epigenetics patterns can persist over time, meaning trauma isn't always just a moment, it becomes biology itself. It I didn't just rewrite trauma. I structured the story like a brain under trauma in my book. So the timeline is non-linear because traumatic memory isn't stored chronologically. The pacing shifts suddenly because triggers activate the amygdala instantly. Amygdala is the region of the brain that is important for the anticipation of fear. And the character makes impulsive decisions because the prefrontal cortex goes offline during stress. So the reader doesn't just understand trauma, they experience it. Now, I want to take a second to think about this. Have you ever reacted to something and later responded, why did I respond like that? So that moment, it's your brain revealing its past because behavior isn't random, it's patterned. And those patterns are shaped by experience, reinforced by biology, and expressed through action. So instead of asking, why am I like this? The more powerful question would be, what has my brain learned to expect? Now, traditional science communication explains what this happens, right? But fiction allows us to simulate experience, to step inside someone else's brain. And when you understand the biology behind behavior, judgment turns into curiosity, and curiosity leads to empathy. Now, my book has been featured in other public talks and forums and helped raise around $250,000 in science curiosity. So, this approach has reached class forums, libraries, and science forums, and something really interesting happened. People didn't just understand and remember the story, they remembered the science because the information wasn't abstract anymore. It was human and it was lived. They can connect with it. They felt like they felt like they were the character within my book. And this isn't just about one book or my book. It's it's about changing how we think about mental health because if trauma can shape gene expression, can healing do the same? And the answer is very much yes. Epigenetics changes our dynamic, which means supportive systems, therapy, and connection, they can begin to reshape the brain again. So even just 10 to 15 minutes of meditation can literally calm down your genes. It can rewrite what the trauma has destroyed. You're basically decoding yourself. Now, the brain can relearn safety, it can rebuild regulation, it can change the way genes are expressed again. So the story doesn't end at trauma, it actually evolves and keeps evolving on every single experience that you encounter. So at the beginning, I asked you to imagine a brain shaped by trauma. Now, I want you to imagine something else. a brain shaped by understanding, a brain that is no longer judged but studied, not blamed but it's supported. Because when we understand the neuroscience, we don't just change how we treat disorders, we change how we treat people. Because every behavior has a story, and every story has biology behind it. Thank you.
Arya, thank you so much for presenting that. Really incredible, that you were able to publish a book. I know that is a significant undertaking, and I did take the opportunity. It's over 600 pages long, everybody. So incredibly impressive that you wrote that cohesive story and then worked such an incredible way of looking at the human brain and trauma into it. We've got a few minutes here if you're okay to answer a couple questions about it. What inspired kind of this story? What made you want to embark on this journey of learning?
I'm always like my entire passion is about the brain and neuroscience, and it's essentially the entirety of who we are as a person and why we are the way that we are. And that's something like we're using our brain to study the brain. It's kind of it's like a loop that's really really interesting to me. So, and I've seen how PTSD and how people like it some experiences can be unconscious, like maybe um injuries or anything like that. It's unconscious and we have no autonomy over ourselves. And that's what kind of piques my interest, and that's where I wanted to explore it more.
Fantastic. Well, awesome. I think I know Jake or Arturo, you guys have a couple questions as well. I'm going to turn it over to them. Arya, thank you again for the incredible presentation.
Thanks, Mason. Thanks for being here. Arya, amazing. You're not only very passionate and knowledgeable about the field as you demonstrate, but you're a great storyteller. So your presentation makes this affordable to everybody, which is great. I want to ask you, well, first, I need to get a hold of your book. I need to get it. And second, I'm eager to know if there's an idea for the next one.
For the next one, I haven't like been starting to write. I was the end of the book is actually left on a cliffhanger. So, um I'm hoping to embark on more readers to read my book, and then possibly later on I will publish another version.
Well,
Great, great.
you got me. I'm gonna read it.
Thank you.
Arya, I am an engineer, and as an engineer, I focus on problems, not because I like problems, but if you don't know there's a problem, you can't fix it. So my question to you is, what was the biggest problem you had in doing this work?
So, am I writing my book?
And doing all the research and talking to people, what was the biggest problem you had?
I wouldn't phrase it as a problem. It's kind of like if you have a passion, you would go out of your way to research about it, and you don't mind whatever you find. And I guess big problem was kind of like it wasn't exactly a problem. Like as I was writing, it just came like the way it came. Like my ideas came as it came. So I just wrote as I wanted to until I felt like this is a good place to stop. This is a good place to keep a cliffhanger. And I think one of my biggest problems was understanding how I wanted to go about publishing it, which was not the biggest aspect that I needed to consider, but that's what I would say.
Aria, I love your attitude. You don't recognize problems. You don't think problems exist. And that's why you're going to be successful. You know, you're blind to difficulties. Congratulations. That's
Thank
excellent. And I'm going to have to get the book also.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Aria. Thank you. Thank
you.
you.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.